All right, we are live, and this is a very, very special day. We're live from our brand new studios. Well, actually, just a small part of our new digs. And I got to say, I love this place. It's what a beautiful place to kind of start your day. And this is going to be an experiment today in a bunch of things. That we're doing a whole lot of really exciting things today. Got a special reveal later on with our friends from markets.com, and you know we've been doing Markets Mondays with them for a whole long time. So this is very exciting. But let me introduce my co-hosts for the morning, both of whom are well known to the audience on cliffcentral.com and also to people all over South Africa. First of all, we have Lebang Hosana, who, morning Lebang. And Lebang is here to start the day with some, look at that beautiful top you're wearing. It's almost like the flag. It is the flag, right?
That's what I was going for. I was like, how do I push like diva energy? And this is what I went for. So
it's good. This is good. Really I like that.
Thank you.
It would be better though if you pulled your microphone a little bit close to your mouth.
As well. Testing one.
All right, very nice. Very nice. The other human being here is with, he's become...
First time you've ever called
you a human being. Aki Anastasiou, who is not only a tech genius and a man of many years of experience in broadcasting, in radio and television. He's got his own show.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning,
thank you for calling me a genius. I'll take it. You'll never be called a genius.
You know what? It's your lucky day, Ax.
Divide that by 10. But anyway, it's nice to be here. Good morning. Good morning, Lebang. Good morning, Gareth. What a lovely new venue for Cliff Central. And I'm truly honored to be here. I just love the energy. Yeah. You're kind of in the middle of Sandton, but you're surrounded by beautiful trees and it's magical.
Listen, this is the first time I think we've had the entire staff here first thing in the morning for a long time.
Yes.
Since pre-COVID. And we're doing it for all the right reasons here. We've moved into our new premises. We've got offices down this way. We've got a new studio which is being built. I don't know how much you got to see.
Well, I walked down there and I just was looking at your new studio that's almost done. It's not completely built yet.
No,
that's where you're going to be broadcasting from. So this is kind of temporary here, right?
Well, this is our lounge.
This is the lounge area.
So we decided we would use our lounge for the first proper reveal of the new show.
I love it.
And we are looking to hear from you also in the comments. We want to hear what you're up to, and we want to hear from all the usual suspects. They're all there, beautiful studio people. I love this, says Tabo. We've got Lubabalos, who says, good-looking venue, it's so beautiful. Charlene saying good morning. Seamus saying, wow, that's real posh. But that's because he's Irish, obviously, a name like Seamus. So anything's posh that isn't made out of mud.
But this is absolutely stunning.
Thank you. No, it's cool.
How big is this place, actually? Because...
we have several acres, but we prefer not to talk too much.
Because you guys have got your own pool here. You've got palm trees. And at the entrance, this is a fantastic Italian restaurant. Have you ever eaten at
Listen.
It's day one. It's day one.
Give us a chance to settle in.
One thing at a time.
Spread our wings. But yes, this is a very special place. And it's going to be our home for, I hope, many, many years. Yeah. And we're going to be inviting everybody around in dribs and drabs. We can't have everyone all at once.
Exactly.
But we'll be doing lots of events here. We've got lots of ideas going forward for our clients, for ourselves. We're going to be inviting all the important people. Just as we did at Cliff Central when we were at 18 Vessels Road in Rivonia.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. So there's lots to talk about today. I mean, we're in Johannesburg, so we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that we have a new mayor. And Pumi was telling me yesterday, because I saw Pumi Mashiko last night at the Sia Kolisi event, he launched his movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Pumi was telling me this new mayor of ours is he's quite something.
It's like our third mayor in the year, isn't it?
Well, if you include Popalatse twice, I think he's our fourth.
He's our fourth.
Yeah.
We're doing well.
We're doing great. I mean, Joburg is obviously running very well.
Yeah, smooth.
Yeah, no one's worried. Water and electricity have never been an issue here. Potholes are just, there aren't any.
And what I do love about the city is how the wild shrubs are cut to size along the pavements. You know, when you're driving and you see the weeds.
Sometimes I can't see the cars on the other side of the road. But yes, I hear you. I mean, at least things are growing because of all the good summer
We had some
weather.
good rain this weekend, guys.
Yeah, that was actually very nice.
I
The
think
rain
so.
was
Like
much
a bit
needed.
cooler.
Look, I can't wait for the burning platform on Thursday because I feel like that's going to be a fire episode. This new mayor has caused quite a bit of havoc pre-entrance. He's 1 foot in the door already. There's like, what is this guy going to do actually? Like his credentials aren't there, his experiences, it's very questionable. So I just want to see what's going to happen on Thursday. I know Pumi's got a lot to say about it.
Look, I'm still trying to figure out how he actually got voted in. How did that process happen? It's a mystery, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the thing with politics at this level in South Africa is that we're going into uncharted territory.
Yeah.
Because now,
Spot
and in some ways, and I don't want to make it too political for the first show of this new week and the last show effectively of January.
Jan.
What, January 31 days? So we still got tomorrow as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we've got lots of coalition politics to come, and if this is any indication, it's going to be a clusterfuck.
Messy.
A what?
Clusterfuck.
Oh, okay.
It's the best word I could come up with.
It's a very apt word to use.
It's the best word to use. So I see in the comments, we've got Tracy says, looks bloody amazing. Parallel Parking says, you start off by immediately
Tracy.
insulting the flat earthers with this globe on the desk. Yes, I thought that was a good idea. Marco says, studio is epic, guys. Well, this isn't even our studio. Wait till you see that. Yeah, that's coming up.
This is just Gareth's office.
Yeah. Lebang, you're looking fabulous, some of the comments.
Thank
That's
you.
also
Thank
very
you.
nice.
Thank you, everyone.
So tell me about the Sia Kolisi documentary premiere, because you stayed for the whole thing.
I did stay for
didn't
the
stay for the whole
whole thing.
thing.
Yeah, you smiled and waved and did your thing. I stayed. It was, like you see a lot of documentaries of like iconic people that are like, breaking the way things have been done. But the way Sia has put his story out there is quite magical. And it's important. The thing that I realized was that we need the story as South Africa. There's nobody that can sit there and watch that docu and not feel moved by it. It's so relatable. It's so understanding. It's just, it's necessary. That's the best way I can describe it. He's so raw. Like, I don't want to give away too much because I want everybody to go and see it, obviously. But the way that you see Sia is just this vulnerable human being who isn't trying to act like something he's not.
Wow.
And it's also not about rugby. Like, rugby is just like the plus of the whole thing. It's just a story about his life story.
And he's so authentic, eh?
That's the thing. He's just being in his true ghost. He's not trying to be anything else.
You don't find authenticity
Authenticity.
in the world.
Don't worry. I mean,
My brain hasn't engaged yet. But he's authentic, eh? And it's very rare today.
like you used that word, and I saw somebody using a word. Someone used these two words to describe themselves in, I don't know, some YouTube clip I saw the other day. They said, the thing about me is I'm really authentic and I'm really humble.
Do authentic people describe themselves as authentic?
No, but this is the point. So if you are using the words authentic and humble to describe yourself, I'm sorry to break it to you, but you're neither of those things. But you're right. That's the quality everyone's looking for.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
We want real again. We're tired of like the fluff and the lights and the cameras and the glitter that's thrown onto social media and what people...
Smoke and mirrors.
Smoke and mirrors is exhausting. So really it was a breath of fresh air just seeing him in his like nakedness like that.
Beg your pardon?
You heard me.
Wow. There was nudity as well.
There was
Really?
there was nudity. Not that kind of nudity.
Okay.
But yeah, it was go check it out. Go check it
Okay.
out.
So I can't waste an opportunity when Aki's around to ask him about the Consumer Electronics Show, because we love talking about new technology, gadgets, new inventions, what everybody's talking about. And I know you want to get onto OpenAI and ChatGPT because we've spoken about this pretty much every day
Yeah.
of the show
Scary, eh?
this year. And I've tried it. I've tried a number of different things with it. It is frightening what this thing can do.
Yeah.
Frightening and amazing, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And finally, it's not just blue-collar workers who have to worry about robots taking over their jobs in factories and things. Now, all those white-collar creatives, all those people who think, oh no, but machines will never be able to do what I can do as a human.
Exactly.
Guess what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not true anymore.
And all your MBA people that studied for years and years.
This thing can churn out an MBA better than...
It can.
give it 3 sentences, and it'll beat anything that an MBA student can come up with.
Yeah, it's frightening.
Scary.
It's absolutely frightening. But yeah, I mean, Vegas, I just love going to that show. And the last time I actually went was in 2020. And literally I got back.
Why? What happened in 2021 and 20?
Anything specific?
It was like a bit of a gap.
Something there?
Something weird happened, and I just couldn't travel. There's this.
It's just you.
Masks and all sorts of things. But it was weird. Hey, now that I think back to 2020, when I came in via Frankfurt, and people. I remember being in the airport and just watching. CNN, and they were starting to talk about this thing, and I was thinking, wow, this is crazy. But anyway, that was in January. By February, of course, we all know what happened. And that was the last time I was in Vegas in 2020. In 2021, it was held virtually. 2022 was an in-person event again, but it wasn't quite the same. I mean, we seem to forget that last year, December, we were still wearing masks, right?
Yeah, that's right.
No, not last year, the year before.
But last year, middle of last year, people were still unable to travel.
Yeah, exactly.
And we were being blamed for that 3rd, 4th, 5th, who knows how many wave.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a great show. It hasn't actually quite recovered to what it used to be. And I mean, normally you get like 200,000 people coming, and there were probably about 150, 130,000, around about that number. But still, it's quite big when it comes to a show. But just in terms of exhibitors,
you had some breathing room.
You had some breathing room, a little bit of breathing room. It wasn't as chaotic as it has been in the past. I mean, I've been to the show 15 times. And but it was nice and chilled, and there were some very interesting technologies, and you talk about GPT, and you talk about AI. Everything is embedded in AI. From toilets.
You had to have the T at the end of GPT,
Otherwise,
people would have thought it was another Grand Prix, and nobody cares about that. So.
But you talk about AI. There was this toilet that was there from Withings, and it had this little. Almost like a puck style thing, almost towards the base of the toilet.
A toilet?
Yeah, you stick this inside the toilet, right? And every time you pee, it analyzes your pee and it tells you what your glucose levels are and sugar, all that sort of thing.
It's a real thing.
And it's able to identify who's peeing. I was trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
But it's astonishing what they can come up with. And there were toilets that analyze your feces.
This is not where I expected the conversation to go.
No, but I'm giving an idea of the world that we're living in today. It's becoming so driven by data and us wanting to know more about what's happening with our bodies.
Sure.
That everything is connected. I mean, there were shower heads that were smart shower heads that you can actually control with your app, and then you can change the flavor of your. The scent that comes down, and you can adjust the temperature of your water. And if you want a more, if you want,
you must take your phone into the shower with you.
No, you do that
so like
before.
A preset
some people
thing,
do take their phones into the shower. Right?
Do they?
I don't know. Do they?
Oh, there are people who. So I know people who spend most of their, the time that you really shouldn't have anything with you, like when you're doing all these lavatorial things that Aki's talking about. The one time you don't need this stuff, and there we go.
Yeah, there
Sorry.
we go. Well,
do you know what that is, guys?
People who can't switch their phones off. 5 seconds.
That's my alarm that goes off every week because I've sacrificed being at gym with my personal trainer to be here this morning.
I can tell the results.
How do you think I'll manage such an amazing body? And a six-pack. Where do you think I get this from? Just by eating Burger King.
Is your trainer called Burger King?
No. Fiona, I'll be back on Wednesday.
Fiona? You have a female trainer. I did too, and she kicked my backside.
Oh, Fiona's tough, man.
See, a woman personal trainer, Lebang, if you're a guy, you're actually likelier to listen to her, either because you're frightened or because she motivates you because she's a woman in a way that a man can't.
I think it's the same vice versa.
You can't be fat, you can't be ugly.
Yeah, but I mean, she just understands my body and she understands where my weak parts of my body are and what she needs to work on.
What are the strong parts?
My strong parts of my body are my upper body, my muscles, my six-pack, my legs. I've been told I've got good legs.
So back to the Consumer Electronics Show.
But listen, there was a great solution.
Hold on. So here's where I'm still stuck. So now the whole consumer electronics show so far, according to you, is all in the bathroom. It's analyzing your pee, it's analyzing your turds, it's helping you make your shower smell nice, and different colored water and what.
Exactly. But there's even, who's got cats here?
Definitely don't look at the black girl.
Who's got cats here?
No.
Nobody. So there was this device where the cat goes into this device, does its poo, its wee, right?
Right.
And then it detects which cat is there. So it starts analyzing, which cat's had its movements. Because I've got a cat, so you've got to clean the cat litter every single day. So as soon as a cat's been in it, then it starts turning in a motion, in a circular motion, and it sieves out the cat litter and keeps the poo, and then the poo goes into another container, and then you empty that out whenever you want to.
This is
so
beyond.
You don't have to actually clean the cat litter every day.
Okay, but this is beyond rich people problems. I mean, if you're analyzing, let me just say this, that if there's anyone listening to us now who is thinking that this is something they need, you probably don't have any other problems in your life.
Well, look, it is expensive. It's like a $400 device. But the point is that all of these technologies, even the pee thing, it's eventually going to become like a standard thing one day.
I don't know if I
It
want
will be
that.
built into toilets.
Do you want that, Lebang?
No, I'm not interested in that at all, to be
Aren't
honest.
you?
No. It's almost sounding like all these things are like, let's make people's lives easier.
Yeah.
Like all the things that you're talking about. But it's also like, and it's what I said to Mash when he told us about this. Are we just like making people lazy in a certain
Well,
way?
no, I
I'm
think-
lazy.
I
I'm
just think-
paranoid.
Like-
I mean, it's going to be telling you every. I mean, I don't think about my overall health every time I go to pee, and I don't think it's probably a very good idea to do that.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be telling you what's wrong with you. But you're just waking up. You're just
Well,
having a pee.
I guess
you have blood cancer. Thanks. This is great. Great way to wake up.
We're living in a data-driven society where we want to know everything about what's happening. Maybe not everyone, but the point is that if you look at where health tech is going, and that certainly was one of the big themes at CES, where everything is now connected and everything is talking to each other and everything has got some level of AI built into it.
Sure.
And once you start adding and putting things together, from your blood pressure to what your wee says to what your heart rate says when you're exercising, you start building a picture of your health. And I guess ultimately that's where they want to go. But there was a very cool gadget, and although the thinking behind this was a workstation, I thought that this solution would be a great solution for load shedding, because it's called the Acer eConnect BD3 bike desk. So it's a bike, right? And it's got a desk, and you cycle, and the cycling charges your devices, and you can work simultaneously.
So you're working while you work?
Yeah, so it's like a proper desk. So you can charge your phone, you got your laptop. But
Have you ever tried to talk to a cyclist when they're stationary? It's impossible.
it's impossible.
When they're on their bikes.
But think about this, with
now-
load shedding, you can charge your devices while you're exercising and working at the same time.
I like the idea.
Yeah, but like practically,
I don't see South Africans
No.
getting on a motionless bike
No.
and turning the wheel to power up their device. I mean, we're desperate for electricity, but even we won't do that.
Yeah. It's interesting you talk about electricity, and there was a theme that I've never seen before, is alternative energy solutions, and in particular battery-powered solutions. And you think that, a country like the US, which has got a pretty stable power supply, there were a lot of these kind of UPS devices,
Yeah.
portable battery
Sure.
charging. So that seems to be getting, quite popular globally as well.
Well, now you've got everyone's attention, because
Yeah.
that's something that everybody's talking about. And I know that, the Tesla wall batteries were a big deal.
Yes, absolutely.
People are very into those. Are those still a topic of discussion over there, or are they developing better things than that?
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
battery technology sort of came to a grinding halt.
Yes.
know?
Well, look, at the moment, lithium ion has been developed. There still hasn't been a significant breakthrough with regards to battery technology, but hydrogen is quite a big one. And in fact, I'm just trying to remember the guy's name. He's a South African adventurer, half Swiss. Maybe you guys, I'm sure he's been on your show.
Not Rian Mansa?
Not Rian Mansa. His name will come to me, but his company have developed this solution, which is the size of a big box, right? Which is hydrogen powered, and they reckon that this thing will be able to power, several houses using hydrogen power. So people are finding
Wow.
lots of different
That's cool.
alternatives to energy, and people are becoming more sustainable.
I'd just like to announce for those people who've tuned in for the first time, we are doing our show this morning live from our new premises.
Yes.
We're doing a little launch for our friends at markets.com a little later on, but we're actually powered by our own nuclear right here. We've got our own nuclear reactor.
I was wondering why am I
We have the space, so I decided, you know what, let's do a fusion reactor, and it is experimental, and we haven't got permission, so please don't tell the City Council of Joburg. And it doesn't matter if you tell the City Council of Joburg, because we don't even know really whether the mayor knows whether he's mayor or not. So.
Yeah. But you know what was interesting, guys?
Great opportunity to take a chance.
Well, exactly. Just tell me you've got a nuclear facility running here.
Yes.
See you after the show.
Pebble bed.
Pebble bed reactor.
Yeah.
Underneath. There's the pool water at
That's
the
right.
back.
That's the cooling. That's the cooling mechanism
What in
there.
the Tony Stark is happening here?
You only glow after 8 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
Before that, you could get away with it. You go out at night after 8 weeks, people will say, wow, you have such a nice glow. And they won't mean like, the pregnancy glow or general health glow.
I remember, you're talking about glow, one of my very, very early days in radio was when the Chernobyl nuclear disaster happened.
You're very old.
Jeez,
because that was
No.
before we
You've
had
just
motion
exposed
pictures.
yourself.
But if you guys remember, I'll expose myself even more.
The gramophone
not,
record.
We don't remember.
Not like that, but Stan Katz
His
was on the
master's
radio.
voice were the only
His
public-
master's voice. Stan Katz was on the radio. I was in high school at the time.
Yes.
And I had, mastered the voice of Ronald Reagan. And we used to do these short skits that were happening, So the Chernobyl nuclear disaster happened. And, the president of the US used to call into his show occasionally
Right,
and
so he
give
must have
words of
called him
wisdom.
then.
So he called in there and he goes, hello. And he goes, Mr. Katz. I said, oh, Mr. President, how are you doing? Well, I'm very good and Nancy's well. But I just wanted to give a message to all the Russian people that have been affected by the... And, it's not nice to say this, but
No,
it was quite a
it was
nasty
a-
incident.
it was a terrible thing
the
that happened.
Chernobyl nuclear disaster. He says, what's your message, Mr. President? Well, Mr. Katz, when you gotta glow, you gotta glow. And he used to play music. But anyway,
the 80s where that was sufficient for humor.
Would you go to Chernobyl if you got a chance?
listen,
now?
I would.
Because
And-
it's
and-
fascinating. They do tours there.
Did you ever watch? I mean, it was such a brilliant miniseries that
Yeah.
unbelievable
stunning.
miniseries they put
It
together.
was stunning.
I think it won more awards than any other. It was absolutely spectacular. And listen, people, unfortunately, while we're talking about this, because it needs a special mention, but nuclear gets this really bad reputation from Chernobyl, from 3 Mile Island, from Fukushima, which are the only 3 out of all the many nuclear reactors that have powered. And listen, with nuclear power, the amount of power it creates is way greater than anything that
Good
solar,
times.
wind, coal, oil, any of those can do. It's also less environmentally dangerous, even though you produce these radioactive byproducts and these radioactive waste products. We should be doing more of that. The whole world should be doing more of that. But because humans are so frightened, we've stopped everything there dead in its tracks. And now we're relying on lithium-ion batteries, which are an old form of technology. We've got to come up with something better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, have you guys tried to get a solar panel installer in Joburg?
They're all
Jeez,
busy.
everybody's
You can't
booked.
find them.
Yeah,
I
the
tell you,
demand's
it's
too high.
amazing at the moment, eh?
But they're also, like Lebang and I discussed the other day, there are lots of Fong Kong.
Yeah, the scammers.
Solar panel guys.
Dodgy
Yeah.
scam people
Must
out there. Be careful.
Just
Make
because
sure
it's
you-
like tainted glass doesn't mean
Yeah.
it's solar
Yeah,
panel.
exactly.
Make sure you use the real ones. Okay, so let's go back to Consumer
Yes.
Electronics Show, because people love talking about new technology. I love talking about new technology. And I think a lot of the stuff that's hype, that game is over now. People don't want to, they're not interested in hype and stuff that doesn't
Yeah.
really make a difference. And honestly, the phone technology is also kind of ground to a bit of a
No,
halt.
it is. There's not much innovation taking place there. And you're quite right about the hype. I mean, this is the show where the first VHS tapes and Betamax were introduced. The first compact disc was launched there many years ago, and then flat screen TVs. I mean, I remember a few years ago that the big hype was 3D television. You remember? We all had to wear these glasses, and you had 3D. And does anybody wear 3D glasses watching TVs? Every TV has 3D capabilities, provided you wear your glasses, but the picture quality is crap at the moment. Right?
And weren't we all meant to be wearing like
VR?
VR now?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was a massive theme this year. and everybody is talking VR, and you know, Meta, which is Facebook, they've gone all in with VR. Microsoft have got the HoloLens, and like everyone is talking VR. And at this show at CS, there were lots of different manufacturers launching glasses, and of course the big barrier is how big this thing is, the quality, and how long the battery lasts. But there was an interesting one that was there. The TCL had their Ray Neo XR AR glasses, augmented reality glasses, and they were slightly bigger than the glasses I'm wearing at the moment. Battery life was a bit limited, so everyone is trying there. And even Apple, actually, you know, we're getting hints from Apple that this is one of the things that they're going to be launching this year, their own you know, VR kind of headset, and they're going to move into this augmented reality space. Whether it's going to work, it's a gamble for everyone. The challenge is to get it into a form factor that's small enough that you can experience what they want you to experience with a longer battery life and a better vision of the quality of the video, etc., etc. So I do think there is a place for VR. I mean, I've used VR in a Ford plant where you got the mechanics wearing this, and there's a guy in the US.
Like a heads-up display?
Yeah, well, no, it's similar to the heads-up display, but the point is that you can have guidance from somebody in the middle of nowhere, and you can see the parts that you need to change. So the guys were using like a spanner to open an engine, and they had it all visually in front of them. They could see the engine, and they were able to, you know, undo something and change something. And
that's
imagine
impressive.
from an aircraft point of view, etc. So that for me was quite interesting.
Well, speaking of all of this stuff, I mean, somebody says here, come Friday, we're off the grid.
Nice.
That's one of our listeners this morning. A big, huge initial capital outlay, but I think a lot of people are starting to do this because there's just not an option. Of course, for some people, there isn't an option.
Yeah,
You can't put in solar
it.
if you're renting.
Yeah.
You know?
And also, you know, people think, oh, I'm going to go off grid, and they do the wrong calculations. Now, I've got solar at home, okay, and I live on my own, which is fine. But, you know, if you've got a family of 3, and you've got a stove, and you've got 2 geysers in your home, it's difficult to go off grid, and people don't understand the power that all of these devices draw. So, and I think that we all don't make the right adjustments in dealing with the load shedding.
Is the metaverse still a thing? I mean,
everybody, it is. They're talking it up. They're talking it up. It's a gamble, and I think that's the. You know, you've got to look at Facebook, and you've got to look at their platforms. They've also reached a point where they're not growing. Even like Google at the moment, with their revenue streams that they're generating. Look, they're still making a lot of money, but they've got to think of the next big thing. And Facebook's big on the metaverse. Big. Have you tried it? Have you guys tried it?
Yeah, no.
I've been at 2 or 3 events where people have launched things, and I've got to be honest with you, I kind of get it when I'm there, and then a few minutes later I go, well, I'm not going to miss it if I don't do it, and I forget what it is fairly shortly after that. It's still I think it's too complicated for people to, it's hard enough for us to come to grips with our virtual personalities that social media have given us, but now we also have to have this metaverse version of ourselves, where, I mean, it's exceedingly complicated. You have people are buying property in the metaverse.
I don't get it. What's wrong with where you're living at the moment? Why do you have to move into another verse?
If your life sucks, and many people, sadly, their lives aren't that great, they build everything into these metaverses. People that are into the metaverse are just there 24/7. There you go, Aki. It's sad. Most of them, unfortunately.
Imagine you say you've met somebody on the metaverse and you're now in a relationship.
It happens.
I mean, how does it work?
It happens. I saw a documentary a couple of years ago on Netflix about this guy who actually got divorced in real life because he spent too much of his time in this online metaverse. His wife was like, he doesn't care for me anymore. He's always online. He was in a relationship with an Australian girl, and he was American. They met eventually after this whole relationship online, and then when it was time to get into the real world, their relationship didn't work, because now it's like, okay, here you are in real life, we actually aren't these personalities that we made ourselves to be.
I think it's horrible.
It was horrendous, it's just sad.
Can I be honest with you?
Yes, you can.
You seem to know a lot about what's happening in the metaverse, and like intricate details of people's lives in the metaverse.
Look,
what do you do in your spare time?
So I don't go into the metaverse.
She has no spare time.
I don't
She's
have
just
any
like
spare
gone
time.
on for 5 minutes telling us about people's lives in the metaverse.
I was
How do you
shocked.
learn all that stuff?
Aki, it's
if
a
you're not in the
documentary
metaverse?
about people who are low lives, who spend their lives in this metaverse.
Did you see how she looked at me?
Low
She
lives.
said- Did you see when she said low lives, how she looked at me? Wow.
Just watch the docu, trust
You
me.
guys are so... Wow. Okay. What's the docu called?
I even forgot. I'll find it for you. But it was about these people that literally everything
but
they do
they
is
are
online.
quite sad, eh?
It's
There's
sad.
like-
They live in their mother's basements. I mean, they've got nothing going for them. But online, they are fabulous. They are everything. They're shiny. They're incredible. But then you meet
in
them
real
in real
life-
life, and you're like,
We know a few people like that.
I don't actually know anyone who's spending a huge amount of time in the metaverse. I must be honest with you. All the people I've spoken to about it are very like gung-ho and excited about it, but they themselves are not spending day in, day out there.
Yeah.
And they're mostly in the real world, which I think is healthy. You know, I don't see a good way of
You
kind
see,
of, if you're spending more than 20% of your time, because
In the
the
metaverse.
time is, I'm sorry, you only got so much time. And we're not uploaded, you can't upload your consciousness into the metaverse yet.
So-
So in other words, while you're alive,
Yeah.
if you're spending more than 10% in my
Honestly.
book of your time there, that's
So
a
let me
lot.
ask you this question. You say 10% of your time in the metaverse is a lot. What would you say to people who spend more than 10% of their times on their phones, on social
oh,
media?
you mean my children? Yeah,
No,
so
I'm
this
just
is
saying
what
in
I say.
general, like social media and watching Netflix.
How much time? I mean,
I mean, you get this-
You could use the excuse that you're doing research, even if
Yeah.
you're just using your phone for all kinds of other stuff. And listen, I went down the rabbit hole this weekend because I was looking for like ways that you could use your phone more productively and cut down on your
Good.
time there.
Yeah.
You listen, there are videos from some very, very clever people, some very good South African YouTubers who are putting up reviews of iOS 16 and
Yeah.
there's some very good people. There's some of them we've had on the show. But how much time do you spend on your phone?
Well, the thing is, for me, this is a scary part on iOS where it tells you
Yeah.
Tells
how much
screen time,
you
yeah.
spend.
You spend
Your
this
screen
many
time
more-
in gaming and your screen time doing this and that. You know, I try to balance it, and I think everything's about balance. But
Sure.
where I was going with that is that you were joking about 10% of your time on the metaverse. But how many people, and people watching right now, what percentage of your weekend time did you watching Netflix? Was it 10%? Was it
Yeah.
more? How much time are we doing on Instagram and on Facebook?
Listen, you've seen those videos of those people walking, looking at their phone and walking straight into street poles
Yeah.
and things like
Yeah,
that.
it's all
Because
over the
they,
place.
they,
I
they're
walked into
glued
somebody
to the
this
thing.
weekend, man. The
You
shopping
did?
center,
Fiona?
walking around. No, walking around on their phone, and they walked straight into me.
Yeah.
You see them all
It
the
happens.
time.
So I've got this great app which pretty much is connected to my kids' devices, like their tablets or whatever. I can literally monitor every single thing they do.
Yeah.
And I've put a limit on the screen time
Are you
to
one of
3
those
hours a
moms?
day. I'm definitely one of
You
those
have
moms.
to be.
I
Otherwise,
have to, otherwise
you're a bad parent if
Yeah,
you
but
don't.
did you hear what she just said? She just gives them 3 hours screen time a day.
a day. Yeah, well, look,
3 hours a day.
the tablet
There's
is
your
part,
10% you were
it's
asking
part
me
of
about.
schooling. They use it to do research,
Okay.
but I can see everything that they're doing, which is what I like. Once they've reached that 3 hours, the tablet, like, it locks. And then they get stuck. They're like, what do we do now? They have to, like, run outside and get
So, like-
creative, blah, blah, blah. It's a real thing.
Okay, they're
It's a
probably
real
getting
thing.
ready to go to school now, right?
Yeah.
So what have you discovered? What
So-
websites should they visit?
Yeah, what are these kids up
So
to?
there's a lot of YouTube. It's just a lot of YouTube. It's Googling random questions like who's Messi and who's Ronaldo. It's right now
Okay.
we're still good. It's surface level. So
Okay.
I'm happy. But I'm not at that point where it's gotten scary yet. So I'm
Yeah.
still in a good place with them.
But you can add like a filter that prevents.
There's definitely a
go from-
filter where they can't download certain things, certain apps. If they try to, I get a notification, etc. It's literally just like I'm playing
now,
God.
that is amazing. You know, again, because I don't have kids, I don't think about this, but what you're telling me is just phenomenal. There's no way parents in our day
No.
would have been
No.
able to know what
No.
their kids were.
And
The
thank
internet was
goodness.
just this big, like, open thing, and you could go in and just find anything you wanted.
Mm.
There's no way they could track what you were up to. The fact that you can do that,
Yeah.
that you can actually get a report every day of, like, what your kids were up to online.
Yeah.
That's a real brilliant use
It's
of
important,
technology.
yeah.
That's phenomenal.
It is. It is.
Love it.
I got bussed once when I was growing up. My mom found a Scope magazine under my bed.
What's Scope magazine for us newbies?
It was like a raunchy magazine back in the day, you know, where there were like a couple of topless people.
But didn't you?
But then they used to put stars.
In those days, they used to have stars on.
They used to have stars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you got caught.
That was under the mattress, Bo Brummel. I mean, Bo Brummel was
The matras.
Yeah, it was the Scope magazine.
That is very sloppy, Aki.
Bad,
That is so
bad
sloppy.
for, anyway, look.
But there was an actual
confession
article,
time.
You know, like this is how incredibly this has changed over what period of 30, 40 years. It's all gone completely in a different direction.
No, completely. No, completely. Now you've got, I mean, even at CS, there was a company that were talking about, you know, porn as, you know, VR in porn. Which,
I knew we'd end up here.
But if you think about it, if you're watching content, it's, you know, ultra realistic. I mean, those are the guys that are spending a huge amount of money in investing in research to happen. Because you think about that, if they get that right, you know.
Well, the VR is obviously for them the next
big time
frontier.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're going to have these total, like, antisocial, bizarre,
It's
weird,
scary, man.
creepy people who live in the basement with
Yeah.
a VR headset on the whole time.
24/7.
Just, you know, being with the girl of their dreams, but actually she's not really there.
And she's probably not even like real.
No,
Another
it's-
thing I remember from the documentary was when one of the Asian countries, there's a shortage of girlfriends for these young... Japan, yes. These young guys who just get into corporate very early and then that's their whole lives. They had to pretty much create a female, you know, girlfriend-esque type thing that they can all be in a relationship with. I swear, they are all in a relationship with like the same doll online. It's scary what's happening.
Well, there
out
was
there.
that movie. What was it called? She.
Yeah.
Remember, the guy falls in love with his
I think.
her or
Was it
whatever.
her? Yeah.
What's his name? But that's where we're going, guys. Where you know people are lonely and they need that interaction. There's no balance in the world at the moment. It's
Well, Parallel Parking says we've moved from seeing naked women with stars on them to being exposed to stars who have naked women on them.
wow.
That's about right.
Oh gosh.
Now, what is your story with manual and automatic? I mean, what's going on
Oh
here?
no, I got a ride from Mash, who's one of my colleagues, and his car was automatic. And I was like, Mash, interesting. Why wouldn't you want to drive a manual where you can change the gears and actually get a feel for the car? I was just shocked.
There are people who are buying their first car as an automatic. And they've never driven a manual.
That scares
They don't
me.
know how to change gears.
That scares me a lot.
It scares you because for you and me and Aki, probably it's important that you learn to drive in a manual car.
At
a lot
least.
of people will never need to. They'll never need to.
Guys, why is this such an issue?
I'm just surprised.
So what? If
At least, at the very least, your
Mesh,
first car.
I'm with you, Mesh. I'm with you, bro.
At least know how to
Mesh.
drive a
No, there's
manual
Mesh up there.
vehicle.
Where's Mesh? Oh,
There's Mash.
Sorry,
with a
I'm
hat on.
putting Mesh on the spot.
By the
It just
way,
shocked me.
I just want to say, like, the whole team is here. So we've Homo Lemo, we've got Simpiwe, we've got Jane, Mash, Dory, we've got Ryan, we've got Michael, we've got Spike. The whole team
squad.
are here.
So
all
let
happening.
me ask you a question. So you're
You
saying,
may.
you like rubbishing Mesh?
I'm absolutely not rubbishing. I love him
You
to
can't drive
bits.
Mesh. It's okay, bro.
I'm just saying you have to know how to drive a manual at the
you-
very least,
if
and
you-
then
Why
go
do
on
you
to
have to?
Let me
automatic.
ask you a question.
Just know how to.
Let me ask you a question.
Go for it.
If your phone signal dies and you have to open a map book to find directions to a meeting, can you read a map book?
Can I read a MacBook?
A map book.
MacBook. Of course, I'm from that era. I can, but most people can't.
Are you old school? No, because
This
kids
is what
today can't
scares
read
me.
maps.
It's the same thing.
Listen,
It's the same thing.
I've seen people turning the thing around and turning it this way around and not figuring out which way is north, south, because this does it for you. But the funny thing is,
Scary.
like, there are so many people. This is a conversation I had on Saturday. I went to a birthday party, and someone there said to me that he can't believe that when one of the light bulbs blow in one of his friends' houses, they have to call an electrician. Now that's expensive because you know, an electrician
change a light bulb.
to change
Do you see where I'm going with
because
this?
this person, no, Lebang's making a point. Because this person
Okay.
cannot change a light bulb. Now, that's entry level. A manual car is the next level. The next level after that is changing a tire. Most people can't do that. And I don't don't think a lot of people ever learn to do that. And then doing simple things like a plug.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
being able to wire a plug properly, being able to extend a cable, a cord in your house that you need to do from one plug to the other. People can't do this.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. Mash, can you change a tire?
Yes, I can.
Okay, well, there you go.
Well, there we go.
It's happening.
Oh, so you can
Measure
do that.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a break.
But it's true, guys. You know, those small tasks that you talk about. I mean, you just talk about a plug, and I know somebody who can't change a plug.
That's very embarrassing.
You know,
I
they
mean,
get
that's
the brown and the
straightforward.
blue in the wrong.
Yeah, and if you do that, you could hurt yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that a lot of the car rental companies, to go back to your thing about automatic and manual, a lot of them don't supply manual cars anymore because people go, no, well, we want automatic. We don't know how to.
They don't know how to even drive.
Nope.
Weren't you supposed to, like, when you do your drivers,
Yeah,
don't
they
you
put it-
have to know how to drive a manual to get your
No,
license?
they actually put it in, I think, eh?
Is it new where you can just
Changed.
drive an automatic?
Well, I think they say that you have got your license on an automatic.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that explains the driving lately because people are just driving like
really are
hogwash.
old school, eh?
You know
let
what?
these good looks fool
When
you.
you started talking about how Chernobyl happened when you were on the show, and
Gosh.
then Scope magazine. I mean, this is very
Yeah,
nostalgic.
he's just dropping all these nuggets from.
Very nostalgic.
But listen, can I tell you, talking about Vegas, I got to tell you guys, one of the most extraordinary structures that I saw going up. Now, bearing in mind, the last time I was there was in 2020, and they're busy building right now this big spherical-looking structure. And it's like you can't miss it. It's right center in the middle of Vegas. Now, you've been to Vegas. You've been to Vegas?
I haven't.
No, I haven't.
You haven't been to Vegas?
But I've watched
okay.
enough like
Anyway,
movies.
but if you are watching the show this morning, just Google the MSG Sphere in Las Vegas. So MSG stands for Madison's
Monosodium glutamate.
Glutamate. No, it's not that. It's Madison Square Gardens. Have you been to a concert at Madison Square Gardens?
No.
It's in New York. It's a big concert venue. But what they're building in Vegas is called the MSG Sphere at the Venetian.
Okay.
And it's this massive entertainment venue that they're building. Now, just to give you an idea of the scale of this thing, it's estimated to cost $1.8 billion. Right?
Well, that's got to be one of the most expensive buildings ever built.
Well, one of them, if it's on a standalone structure, but when you start building stadiums and that sort of thing, it's massive. But this thing is going to be completed before the end of this year. So they started building it in 2020.
Yeah?
It will become the largest spherical structure in the world. It's 100 meters tall and about 157 meters wide, okay? It will be able to accommodate 20,000 standing spectators,
Wow.
17,500 seated guests, and it will have 23 VIP suites. But this is where it gets exciting, the technical stuff which blows my mind. It's going to have 160,000 square foot wraparound LED display on the interior. So if you imagine the inside, which is 100 meters wide, there's a wraparound LED display. So it's designed
It's like
for concerts.
it's a massive screen.
It's massive, okay? It will have a massive LED display on the outside as well. It's all fully programmable.
so
and
the
it will have
the poor people who couldn't afford the tickets will stand
just stand
outside and
outside.
still get a bit of a show.
and the quality of that massive screen will be better than most of us have in our homes, right? But this is the part that freaks me out. There are 164,000 speakers in this venue. And what they're doing is that they've got this company from Germany called Holoplot. And what these guys do is they give you this immersive sound experience. So wherever you sit in the stadium, you will have a completely immersive sound experience. So if you think about surround sound at home now, it's going to be all over the place. So you feel like you're in this extraordinary place. So imagine watching a concert.
a bit disconcerting.
There are 3 layers of cooling, so it'll come from the top, from the side, and then underneath as well. So this venue is going to be extraordinary, and they reckon the first band that will be performing is going to be U2 around about
God.
September, October.
Yeah, haul them out of mothballs for
I
that.
was about to say, is U2 still a thing? I mean, they're
Yeah.
classics, but I mean, like,
But listen, I was there over New Year's, and you know Adele's performing in Vegas, so I thought, let me go and see if there are tickets available. Do you know what they wanted for a ticket to watch Adele? Take a guess. 48 grand to watch Adele.
48,000 rand.
Ront. And that was
Ront.
like
Like
right
the
at the back
in the gallery.
of the venue.
Jeez.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Adele. It's
Yeah,
Adele.
but still. So, you know who went to see Adele? And he put it all over social media is Alan Ford. Stoodler.
And
Oh,
he was
really?
like, he was in the
He
front.
was in front row.
Oh,
so
he's still calling people that.
I wonder what. Yeah, I call him. That's his nickname.
I've got a confession to make. A few years ago when I was there was Celine Dion was in residence at the same place. I went to watch Celine Dion.
Lovely.
And you know, can I tell you something? That the play, so in the middle of a show, I was like so moved by this whole thing, you know, because she goes, and now, this is when her husband was still alive. I want to talk about this very special
What's his
person in
name?
my life.
What was his name?
Elaine or something. What is
No,
his name?
man.
I don't know his name.
Who knows what Celine Dion's husband?
Anyway, we'll figure it out. But anyway, so she does this whole thing and she goes, and the camera like zooms into her face. And I want to dedicate this song to the love of my life. And she sang one of her famous songs, you know. And like as she's singing the song, Renee. As she's singing the song, you can see like her eyes start to water. And then the camera focuses on eye drop. And it goes down her cheek and then
And it doesn't bother you that she does this for every
it goes
show.
down. And then I'm thinking, oh my God, this is so special. This is like, I was like moved by it. You know,
Meanwhile,
that-
she does this every time.
she does this every night.
Yeah. It's
How
part of the
switches it
show.
on?
But isn't she
Like
sick
I was
now?
caught. No, apparently she's
She's
sick.
sick now. She can't
What's wrong
sing
with
ever
her?
again.
She can't sing or something.
It's some like very, very rare thing. But I don't know what it's called. It's just extremely rare. But like I think her body, I don't want to say
It's
it
like an
wrong.
autoimmune.
I don't know, like her muscles are sort of like just failing and she won't be able to walk and talk and do anything slowly. It's pretty scary.
And like Justin Bieber's thing is also scary. He's got like partial paralysis on the side of his face.
Well, if you make terrible music like those two have, for
No, man.
No.
Come on, man.
Lies so early on a Monday morning.
God will get
wow.
you eventually.
No ways, man. Don't say that about Justin Bieber.
Not Justin Bieber, he just sold off his
Bieber's-
royalties actually for
Did
like
you see it?
millions.
300 million.
300 million.
He sold his royalties.
I think if his music
How
was
can
bad,
it
it
be
wouldn't
so
be worth
horrible
300
to
million.
say that about Justin Bieber?
And Celine Dion. I said it
In
about
the same
them both.
sentence.
To be clear.
Shocking.
Wow.
Shocking.
Wow.
Dreadful.
Is this your friend, eh?
Can I get some coffee, please?
Yeah,
Those are
actually,
great. They're great musicians,
we'll
Gareth.
take a break in a second. Just our new studio looks, as trendsetters are going to frustrate a lot of podcasts. Zuzile, you make no sense. That's the least cogent sentence I've ever seen in my life. A lot of people here say, Aki is that guy at the Braai who always has something new to tell everybody
Nah.
that nobody knows.
Nah.
Are you?
Thank you.
No, that's a good thing, though.
It's a really good
I
compliment.
think that's a compliment,
So it's
yeah.
the best way of getting out of Bryan. Because I hate Bryan. He's
But
just
you like the eating the meat
I
part?
like the meat part, but you know, clothes, smell of smoke and everything. I just
Somebody's
can't
got to do
handle
it,
that.
bro.
I usually delegate someone else to do the braaiing as well. So
Who?
whoever can do it better than me, which is mostly everybody. You know, cooking is not my forte, Aki.
No, it's not. No, it's not. I've been
it's
to
not something I
houses,
care
terrible
about.
Is
cook.
it? Well, you got an air fryer, so like half
No,
of the
I
cooking.
got an air
Guys.
fryer and
And
never
do you
used.
never use?
Never used
Guys,
that.
the air
I knew
fryer.
you would not miss the opportunity in our first show in our new
Hey,
premises
it's
to talk
only
about air
right.
fryers.
Guys,
It's only
She's
air
right.
fryer.
obsessed with an air fryer.
I got
Tell me
an
all about it.
I got an air fryer the other day as
Yeah.
well. And the thing is amazing. I
Thank
held
you.
off.
How long
you know
till
that
that
I
break?
actually bought an air fryer about 2 years ago. And I had it in a box. I hadn't opened it. I said, just this is a hype. It's bullshit. It's
Sure,
crap.
sure.
And I went and I returned it. And then I went about 2 months ago and I bought an air fryer.
And now you see
My
that
life has
it's
changed.
the real thing, right?
What do you
Use your
cook
air
in
fryer
there?
for?
Everything.
Hey, I tell you, you make a chicken schnitzel in the air fryer.
There you
it's
go,
like
chicken.
it's so cool.
It's juicy.
Scones, it's juicy. Fish, that sort of thing.
yes.
And also, you know that it's a lot more energy efficient than using your oven because what it does is at a certain temperature, it keeps it at 180 degrees or whatever you got it on,
Sure.
and it just does things quicker.
Yeah.
Look, let's be honest about the technology. They've conned us all with these air fryers. They've just taken a coil stove, put it upside down, and added a fan to the top of it.
I'll take it.
Okay, but
Con me some more.
it works, Gareth.
It works.
Don't judge us.
I stopped listening somewhere after the first mention of an air
Do you
fryer.
are you in the Facebook group with all the recipes?
Oh,
Can
my-
you do that right now?
No,
Oh my gosh.
I
it'll
got
change your
one of
life.
the. She's telling me share that face group. There's some very
sharing it
cool
right now.
Instagram
All right,
pages.
well, while
And
those two are busy
have
with
you,
their
have you
thing.
downloaded the Philips Nutri app?
There's an app.
This is
We
a
will,
cool
uh,
the app, the Nutri app.
We'll be back with a whole lot more in the next hour. We'll also be revealing our special guest for this morning's show. We'll be welcoming our friends from markets.com for our first Markets Monday of 2023. And of course, welcome to our brand new digs, our brand new venue, because it's not really just the studio.
It's Cliff Central House. You got to say it
go.
right.
Cliff Central House.
That's
the
what it
name.
is.
I think that's it, yeah. I think that's it.
Cliff Central House.
Yeah.
That's nice.
In that
But,
voice, in that exact voice. Please do it again.
Cliff Central House.
There we go. We got our voice
I like the name.
Very nice.
Fantastic.
All right, we'll be back in a moment.
It's the decade that just won't go away, mainly because we won't let it. It's That 80s Show, the show that taste forgot. Every Friday, Paolo and Dory remember the 80s. Movies, music, fashion, Wham, Beachies, and the Half. If it was acceptable in the 80s, it will get you cancelled today. That 80s Show, new episode every Friday, live or as a podcast on cliffcentral.com.
This week on the Auto Trader podcast.
Ever seen this video on TikTok? I think we'll ask the editors to kind of put it up there. But whenever the petrol price goes up, this video becomes popular again, which has this person going to their car and pouring water in this like makeshift engine in the boot. And they're like, I don't know why everyone's complaining about petrol when you can just use water or this water system.
Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
Hey, we're at the end of January already, but we're in our brand new home, so it's been a hell of a month for us. We've moved, we've changed a whole bunch of things, and we are very happy to welcome you here for the first time this morning for our first show. Got a special guest later on, which I'll tell you all about in just a moment, but also another special guest is Aki Anastasiou, who's here, and Lebang Hosana, who you know from the Gareth Cliff show in the mornings, as well as her own show, Life with Lebang. And she is also heading up a new department here at Cliff Central where we're going to be doing a bunch of new and exciting things. More about that later as well. So we got lots of reveals in the next few weeks. I'm just going to warn you in advance. You can't afford to miss one episode going forward. Every day there's going to be a surprise. Stick around for that and a whole lot more. We haven't even moved into our new studio. This is just the lounge, but how's that view? Not bad.
You actually have to do a video tour of the place.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah?
No, we will.
You got
Oh,
to
we
do
will.
that. I mean, this is magnificent. It's beautiful.
I mean, we're planning a pool party, Aki, if you and Fiona are interested in joining us.
Yeah.
You know?
Really?
Yeah, for
Can
real.
I join you guys?
Yeah.
Wow. I
Yeah,
mean,
you
this
can.
pool outside is phenomenal.
And Fiona, by the way, is apparently Aki's personal trainer.
She is, yeah.
He's meant to be seeing this morning, but
But
yeah, he's so fit that he doesn't. He can,
see why she's my personal trainer. Okay, let's get the elephant out of the room. I mean, you guys have been wanting to see my six-pack
that's
for like.
frightening.
Sure.
I want to apologize on behalf of the
Yeah.
entire staff here.
That's what a real six-pack looks like.
sure.
So, all right. We were talking earlier about the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas, and Aki was talking about the concerts that he's been to there. And obviously, Vegas is like Concert Central. But you know who's shelling out lots and lots of money right now for celebrities and performing artists, and they're paying top dollar for
Who's
this.
that?
Dubai, obviously.
Oh, wow. Dubai
of
is.
course.
That place is just insane, eh?
It is.
I was there in October last year, and I mean, I'm just like blown away by the infrastructure, number one, and the quality of the restaurants, like everything. I mean,
Well, they just opened up a new Nobu
Yeah.
there, and I think, who's that that
the
actress?
chef, the actress.
No, yeah, Rebel Wilson was there to open the new Nobu
Who the
with.
hell is Rebel Wilson?
She's
you know Rebel
the-
Wilson?
I know, no.
He makes it sound like some famous
Who's
person.
Rebel Wilson, Gareth?
Rebel Wilson's that blonde girl. She's Australian,
The funny one.
funny one.
Ah, I know who that
It's
is.
hard. Yeah, it's hard. I don't know how else to describe her, but
So
she was.
Nobu opened up.
Yeah, they opened up a brand new Nobu. So Chef Nobu himself was there with Rebel Wilson, who obviously is like, I don't know, they must have paid her just to come and do it. But Beyonce was there just last week. She got paid $24 million. This is a story I spoke
What?
about. Yeah, $24 million. So I read this amazing article by someone called Tanya Gold. It's on, I think it's on Substack somewhere. And she says, I went to Dubai once. It is where tyranny meets hypercapitalism, and it's as awful as it sounds. So this is what she says here. Last week at the grand opening of Atlantis, the Royal, Dubai's newest luxury hotel, Beyonce gave her first live performance in 5 years. This gig featured a 48-person all-female orchestra, how feminist, a Lebanese dance troupe, and her daughter. She was reportedly paid $24 million for the occasion.
Just
which
to do
is-
one show.
That's 10 Bugatti Chirons.
Wow.
It's Beyonce, guys. Like, if I could afford to go, I would go. It's Beyonce.
No,
You're not just gonna
Beyonce,
catch
she's-
Beyonce
Yeah,
performing.
but here's the thing, right? Her latest album, which is called Renaissance, of course, is an homage, they say, to queer black culture. She performed no songs from that album because she can't in a country where homosexuality is punishable by death. So she sang her back catalogue, right? But people are complaining because they say what she does or doesn't do for money wouldn't matter normally. But in the modern era, where everybody is judged by every action, social media, everything else, they're saying, well, actually, she stands for nothing if she's prepared to take money from a tyranny, effectively.
Yeah, it's true. I mean,
And
look.
what do you think of this? I mean, do you think that artists should be subject to this stuff or not? I mean, should she be judged for this? She's just earning money.
Hell no,
People
she's
want to be
making money,
entertained.
man. If they wanted her to do Elvis songs, she'd do it for 24
She'd do it.
million.
It's-
I mean,
it's-
it's money.
come
I
on.
would do it, wouldn't you?
I'd do it.
24
I'd be
million.
his backup dancer. It's money at the end of the day. And look at it this way. We saw recently with the Ronaldo thing. These countries, you know, with their laws, they're
They'll
willing
also
to
bend their laws.
They also bend their laws.
However, if you want to do something like the album that you spoke about and you stand for something like that, then you got to stand for what you believe in as well. So there's the other side of it as well.
Yeah.
They dangled $24 million in front of you. I reckon nobody has principles.
Nobody, money talks, yeah. 24 million to sing, and she did a few songs probably.
Yeah, and you weren't allowed to record. Like, I think they either took your phones upon entry or
Yeah,
you
but
just
that was
Yes.
the Lebanese dance.
But people definitely recorded as well. Like, I saw a bunch of videos like pop up online. People were definitely recording, even though they were told not to.
Really?
Yeah. These
But-
are human beings we're talking about.
So this friend of mine was there, and he's there at the moment. So he had dinner with his wife. They went to some restaurant called, I don't know, it's an Italian restaurant. And he sent me his credit card slip. For the two of them, they had shared a starter, they had a bottle of wine, and they each had a pasta. It was 5,000 Rand.
What?
But that's, but restaurants, guys, listen, restaurants are expensive. I know you shouldn't convert with the exchange rate, but in Dubai, everything is flown in, and they fly in the best of the best.
Including all their
ingredients.
workers. 90% of the people who live in Dubai are migrant workers.
Yeah, and it is what it is, but it's quite extraordinary what's happening in Dubai, and it's extraordinary what's happening in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, major change.
I was talking to a guy. I wear these this brand of glasses, and he's like the area manager for Middle East and Africa, and he travels to Saudi Arabia often, and he says he's never seen a country change so fast in such a short space of time as Saudi Arabia.
This is MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince.
Yeah.
Who's making all these changes happen as quickly as can be.
It's amazing. He was saying things like, for example, when you walk around, you wouldn't hear music playing. Now you hear music in shopping centers, little nuances. So
women are driving.
Women are driving.
Outrageous.
Yeah, that's not a little thing.
The fact that they allowed women to drive. I was going to go and live in Saudi Arabia, but now I'm put off.
Jeez Louise. Wow. What's shocking is that it took them that long to allow women to drive.
Watch how their accident rate goes sky high.
Of course, Gareth, of course.
Next, they'll be giving them the vote, then their whole country goes down the toilet.
Yeah, exactly. Shocking. No, but
Jane, would it kill you to get me a coffee? Aki, do you want a coffee? I mean, we're doing this live. It's cool.
This is what they do here at Cliff Central. I'll give you these things, and they pretend it's coffee, but it's actually tap water in here. So, like, you have to be like, it's hot. Every time it's bloody tap water. Can I get a coffee here? Would it kill anyone?
The expose.
Tricks.
Got all the fancy pool,
dirty tricks.
Water features. This
I know.
You can't even
Have you
organize.
noticed we even have a little, a sort of a jacuzzi there? Which
Ooh,
you're going
there
to try
it is.
later.
Foam with you add some foam in there, and
Yeah. And we're going to have the Lebanese dances that you spoke about.
But
later.
wow, but the amount of hotels and like
it's
I went to
phenomenal.
Dubai when there was like a couple of hotels like 15 years ago. It's amazing what's happened.
Well, just to go back to this Dubai article, which I found very interesting. Apparently, one of the reasons that Dubai is spending this money is it's fairly self-evident, but they're going to run out of oil eventually. So they want to make it a tourist mecca. They want to make it the place that everybody goes. So entertainment has got to be top-notch. Hospitality's got to be top-notch. Food has got to be top-notch. And so far, they seem to be ticking all those boxes. And they're prepared, as Lebang pointed out, they're prepared to bend the rules necessarily where they can prove that there's value for them.
Look,
Right?
a lot of companies are also moving their Middle East headquarters there as well.
Hello, Mum Jane.
From the media.
You've met Jane, Aki?
Hello, good morning, Jane. Did you just call him Papa G?
Yeah, that's his nickname around here.
Thanks, Jane.
Can I please get a coffee as well?
See, we've got hospitality here. We're like Dubai.
Yeah. Yes, please. Half a spoon of sugar. Thank you. And some milk.
Looks like
Thank you.
Dubai, and we've got. This is what we're learning.
And you can even skydive in Dubai. Do you know that? You can jump off these buildings. But
That's nice and hot, not like your tap water.
Oh no, listen. When I was there last, I went to visit the Museum of the Future in Dubai.
Embarrassingly, I've never been outside of the airport in Dubai.
Haven't you?
Never. I've got a couple of friends who live there now, and they keep saying to me, "Come and visit us. It's going to be so much fun. We'll show you around." And it does look. I mean, it's exciting.
It does.
look
People
nice.
do say that it doesn't have soul.
Yeah, it's a very plastic, very fake.
You know, you
place.
hear that.
Yeah.
But I do think it is
Who
livable.
needs soul when you have money?
Exactly.
I mean, I've got friends that live there and that actually have performed there. And one of my friends who has just become this freaking rock star, Focalistic.
Talking about Beyonce.
No, busted, jeez. So my friend Focalistic was like jumping on the sofas in this like
Fucking fantastic. Who's your friend?
Focalistic.
Oh,
but they
Focalistic.
stopped them from having too much fun. It's almost like there was a funometer. We have this joke where in Dubai they try to keep the funometer down because they were having too much fun. They were living their best lives. They got booked to perform.
Oh, and then they
And they
scaled
were like,
it
get
down.
off the couches. You guys are having too much fun. Get off the couches. Stop drinking. They were having too much fun. So Dubai looks amazing, but like I just feel like I don't know if I'd really enjoy myself the long
And
way
also,
because of those little
you know, in a
things.
place like South Africa, you break the rules you can normally get away
You get
with
away with it.
In that place, I don't think you get away with
it's a
anything.
hard no. So for like young people that are like, you know, into the vibe, not so much, but definitely if you want to go there and just experience a whole different place that's
It's like
nothing like South Africa,
It's
go
like
for
a
it.
nightclub, but it closes at 12.
Right?
Can
Probably
I-
even like 10.
Yeah, I just had to get the names of these vehicles because at the show in Dubai, they have all the different, you know, companies displaying their stuff, and they also got the Dubai police force there,
Oh, yeah.
right? And they've got their cars that they have. Do you know what cars the Dubai police force has?
No.
They have an Aston Martin Vantage.
Jeez Louise.
They've got an Audi R8. They've got a Bugatti Veyron. And they've got a Mercedes-Benz SLG AMG. They've got a BMW M6.
Nice.
They have a McLaren and they have a Ferrari in their fleet.
Our police
Who are they
only have
chasing?
those if they steal them from us.
Yeah.
Wow. It's extraordinary, but
It is.
you think about that, you know, like Beyonce paying 24 million. I mean, obviously, that is their police force, but a company like Aston Martin will say to the Dubai police force, here's a car.
Yeah.
It's branding for them. You
Sure.
know, it's...
Well, Adam says, I've lived in Dubai since 99, and I've been here longer than since I've lived in South Africa. I miss home so much, but Dubai is unreal. Behind the scenes, Dubai life is great and efficient and safe country. Well, there we go.
Yeah, that's it. Everything works and it's safe. That's the most important thing.
My friend, says Slippery Pickle, was an indentured slave at a 6-star hotel in Dubai. He described it as not that terrible.
A slave at a 6-star
Well,
hotel.
I mean, a slave,
Yeah,
right.
exactly. And there are lots of 6-star hotels, believe it or not. We have 5-star hotels, but 6 stars. I mean, the
And you
Burj
can
Al
drink-
Arab.
you can drink there now.
Oh, yeah, you can. Certain states, like Sharjah, you can't. But, you know, they've got their different Emiratis there that they have. And
Oh,
of
look
course,
here, Aki.
I even get muffins.
Even muffins.
This is great.
See,
See, this is proper. Don't mess
Fiona-
around.
Fiona's watching.
I'm telling you, we're upgrading everything.
Fiona's watching me.
All of it's being upgraded.
Fiona's watching me.
Oh,
I
is
get
she?
muffins.
She's going to be disappointed when you pitch up an extra kilogram heavier
Like
at the...
6 muffins.
Yeah, and they're all for
Wow,
you.
guys. I just showed you my 6-pack and I get 6 muffins.
All right, so I visited Dubai 4 years ago, and airport taxis were Lexuses at the time, with a lady driver, says Venetia.
Yeah.
En route to the hotel, we saw a fender bender between a Ferrari and a Bugatti. Ouch, says Tracy.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's,
okay.
I mean, the level of cars and the level of wealth, but you know, we all have lots of friends who live there. It's become a very corporate environment as well. You know,
Yeah.
many company headquarters are there. So good on them for having the vision to understand that at some point you're going to run out of fuel.
yeah.
And what is
Correct.
plan B? You know, and you look at the size of the Emirates airline fleet.
No, it's quite something.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm keen to go and see it. I don't want to miss out on what everybody else is telling me is the most interesting place on the planet. People also talk the same way about Singapore.
But you should actually do a whole thing on Dubai.
Well, I'm one
I mean,
of those people
brought
who
to you
still,
by
I'm-
Emirates.
I'm one of these people. He's hinting. I'm one of these people who still needs to be converted because I'm not entirely thrilled. It's never been on my agenda. It's
Yeah.
never been something I've been very interested in. So I'm really on the side of like, show me why I should care about Dubai.
Yeah, look, I was on the same team as you on that, but when you start realizing what they've done there and the activities that they've added, I was telling you guys about this Museum of the Future that they've got. It's just been built now, actually designed by a Cape Town architect, believe it or not, and
Really?
it is the most extraordinary structure. Just Google it and see, but it's like an egg-shaped building. And you get into this building, and the lift takes you to the top, but you feel like you're in a spaceship. And as it's taking off the spaceship, then slowly the screens start moving
You
accordingly,
told me about
adjusting.
this.
Yeah,
I remember. I've
and it
been
just
thinking
goes
about
up
it
and
ever
up and
since.
up and up, and then you're in space, and then you dock with a space station, and then you start your journey into the future from there, and you move down the building, and they share all these different experiences. It was quite extraordinary what they've done there, but they've got so many of these type of experiences.
Well, I did get a message here from somebody who said Dubai isn't a tyranny. They have reasonable rules. They punish you heavily if you don't follow them. It's called consequences for actions. Countries like ours should try that sometime.
Wow. Yeah.
Also a good point.
I think your guest has been to Dubai a few times.
I think so.
Yeah.
And,
must ask him about what he thinks.
Absolutely.
He was
we will.
probably at the Beyonce show. That's the kind of
Probably just flew
that's the
in
kind
from
of
there now,
level
yeah.
of guest that you have today.
No, we're not messing around. So, Aks, besides all the Consumer Electronics Show and everything else, what are you up to?
You know, Gareth, I'm doing a lot of tech stuff at the moment. Facilitating a lot of discussions, emceeing a lot of events. Tech is big at the moment. Companies are spending huge amounts of money in digitizing and just moving ahead on the process and understanding.
But tech companies have also fired thousands of people who they don't need.
No,
anymore.
they have, and that's, the reality is that automation and hyper-automation is going to be the big thing over the next few years, together with AI. It's doing a lot of the processes that human beings are doing, and you've got to stay on
That's
top
not
of
why
it.
they fired these people.
They fired them because
they
of
had tons
them.
of people they didn't need.
Well, that's the other thing as well. And the company, they went through a very a period of tremendous growth, and now you don't need that amount of people anymore. You're quite right. I mean, look at Twitter. Everybody criticized Elon Musk when he fired all these people.
But they're all doing it as well.
And they're all doing it as well. And we're talking about thousands of people. But so what am I doing? I'm doing all of that kind of stuff, talking to companies, talking about cybersecurity, which is the one thing that terrifies the living shit out of me is cybersecurity.
Really, that scares you
we are
more
living,
than
we are living
more
in
than
such a scary.
the doomsday clock, which they say is closer to midnight than it's ever been. You know the doomsday clock. It's this counter for how close we are to nuclear war. And the last time we even bothered to look at this thing was at the end of the Cold War.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, okay.
So this is roughly when you remember with Chernobyl. But since then, we've been mostly not terribly concerned about nuclear war.
Yeah.
It's back on the agenda thanks to this Ukraine-Russia war.
I'm glad
You're
you
more
raised that.
scared of cybersecurity
No,
than that?
together with that, because when you look at the kinds of tanks that are being sent into the Ukraine, you look at the Leopard tanks and the American tanks, they're setting some mysterious firepower, and it's setting a scene for some huge battles. And people haven't actually quite understood how serious this is and what's going to happen there in the next few weeks. Because they say as spring starts and the ice starts melting, that's when this conflict is going to happen. And you have a guy sitting up further north that has access to nuclear weapons, and that's what I'm scared about.
Well, I mean, aren't Russia also primarily the guys who are most responsible for all the cybersecurity hacks and things? They've got a whole team at the Kremlin who basically just do disinformation.
Completely. And
right?
Trying to hack into systems, trying to steal information. But all of the countries, everyone's doing it. The Americans, the Chinese, the Russians, the Ukrainians, everyone is just trying to
The most dangerous people in the future are not going to be soldiers, it's going to be nerds.
Data is the new currency. It's literally the new currency. And
So these nerds are like they're the real soldiers.
These are the guys that we were criticizing not so long ago about VR spending the whole day in this basement, and now you're giving them...
Look at us.
They'll come and kill me, digitally, virtually.
So I just got a notification, Gareth, that my son has arrived at school and he's just logged into YouTube.
Oh, you see.
Look how efficient this thing is.
This is technology working for you.
I'm sitting here and
Love
my
it.
son is just live
And he's
happening.
watching the show while he's supposed to be concentrating in his class.
Well, he's not watching the show, no.
Okay. What's your son's name?
Toriso.
Toriso. Hi, Toriso.
Okay, so listen, this is interesting, Aki, and I think you may take some interest in this too. Somebody says that the thing they're most scared of is a solar flare. Does that ever come up in tech conversations? Solar flare, which would be like an electromagnetic pulse, which would just take out all communications network.
We've had solar flares before.
But bad ones?
I don't know how they can't have been. You remember a few years ago we had a solar flare that took out communication for like a few hours. I don't know how big the future solar flares are going to be, but who knows? I mean,
the sun is unpredictable. It could be planning one right now.
Solar flares. I think we should be more worried about the mayor of Joburg than solar flares.
Yeah.
Right?
I think his name is Solar Flare.
Oh, no.
Does anybody know what the mayor's name is?
Tapelo, isn't it? Tapelo Ahmad.
Why don't you get Tapelo on the show one day?
I would be happy to have Tapelo on the show.
Surely. Yeah.
Because, maybe he's got a good vision for. Listen, at the end of the day, we need to give the guy a chance. Maybe he's got a great vision, and
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess
Let's see what he's got to say.
compared to what we've had in the past, maybe it's time for a good change.
Listen, you talk about notifications on your phone. From your son's just logged into YouTube. Now, I think notifications can be very, very helpful, but they can be such a pain in the backside.
A distraction. They're a distraction.
Yeah, you have to switch them off.
You don't-
WhatsApp off.
So which ones can you do without? I mean, this is the kind of information people pay you to come and talk about at conferences and things.
Yeah.
So what should we cut out? I already have switched off most of my social media. WhatsApp I have to have on because that's where we do work stuff.
lot of work, yeah.
It's also where family get hold of you, but also friends and bullshit.
Yeah,
So you have
exactly.
to know what's what. Can you for example shut down notifications for group chats,
You can silence them.
but
Yeah,
not
mute.
for
You can
You
mute
can
them.
mute them. You can mute them.
Oh yeah, no, I know
Yeah.
how to do that.
Yeah.
But are there other ways that we can
Notifications. Well, look, notifications are a pain. I've disabled most of my notifications, like you.
Yeah.
Even like the football ones, because then I look at my
Oh,
team,
no, you don't
and
need that.
the moment you see the opposition team has scored a goal, it like messes up your whole day. Eh? Fortunately, this weekend Pirates played well, so my notifications are good.
Okay.
But I support Aston Villa, and
Jeez.
we've been playing reasonably well
They're still a team, huh?
They're still a team. They're still a
Still a
team.
thing.
They're
Still a thing.
But if you're a Liverpool fan and you get
Imagine how
notifications,
depressing.
gee whiz, man, it'll spoil your entire weekend.
So Sun-Marie says all my group chats are silent.
Yeah, you
That's
have
a
to.
good way to go.
I have actually taken WhatsApp notifications off.
You have
I
to.
think it's a big pain. And even like calendar notifications to tell you what meetings you've got coming up.
Too much.
Yeah, I just think it's too much.
Those are the only ones I need. Like, I need to know what I'm doing at what time because there's so much happening, especially during this time.
Yeah.
But every social media platform off, especially Instagram.
I've become so useless and I mean, I used to know what my diary looked like. I used to have a written diary. I'm talking about 10 years ago now,
Yes.
but I used to write everything. I knew where my next appointment was and everything else. And it was kind of built in. So I'd start my day and I'd know exactly what was happening through the day. Now, if it isn't in my digital diary, it doesn't happen.
Exactly.
Exactly. No, from that point of view, I think that's quite useful. But the distracting ones are the social media. Because you see, social media is designed in such a way, because have you noticed sometimes you get a notification that's like, so what? Did I need to be notified about that? It's almost like they do it so that they hook you in, because that's how
100%.
social media works.
100%.
You get hooked in, and before you know it, you've spent 30 minutes looking at rubbish, and you've actually wasted 30 minutes of your day.
And all that's happening is they're just collecting data all the time. Every comment you make, everything that you
But it's
like,
just
is
design.
data collection.
Yeah.
Listen,
it's all just design.
one thing you want a notification on is these creepy child sex ring kingpins. I don't know if you saw this story.
No,
over the
which one's
weekend.
that?
There's a guy called Gareth Ackerman
I
who
read
is
something
facing
about it.
hundreds of charges relating to a child sex ring. He went to court this last week. Now, I didn't even know this guy existed until now.
I saw his
You'd
name
think
was trending.
But you'd think someone with hundreds of charges against him, we'd be on the news every night. You
Yeah.
remember when, I remember when I was a kid and when kids went missing, they'd be on the milk
Yeah,
thing
exactly.
or on the cereal
But
box.
when you're talking about
and then you'd
hundreds-
sit there at breakfast in the morning and your mother would say, well, if you see a man like that, you tell us. Now this guy's like wandering around. Kingpin. He's a kingpin of a
That's
child
scary.
sex ring.
That is
so
scary.
apparently he contravened his bail conditions and went missing on Friday. How can this guy be
How
out
is
on
he on
bail?
bail? Wow.
Come on.
Right? Less than 64 hours after he allegedly sold his movable assets and vacated the premises he was living in, he was arrested at the Florida Junction shopping center on Sunday morning. Ryan, aren't you near Florida? Thank goodness Ryan's a little older than a child now, or else we might not have seen him this morning. He lives near there, right? And this guy lives up the road.
Have you been to Florida Junction Shopping Center?
No.
No,
Gosh,
come on.
you should be
But I
arrested.
don't think I want to go now.
You should be arrested for going there.
No, there's nothing going on in those parts. Come on.
Dreadful place.
Dreadful. Well, apparently, residents spotted and recognized him and immediately called the police. So they obviously
Good on
know.
the residents.
Yeah.
But they know this. I mean, they know the guy. I don't know the guy. We live in Gauteng. We should know who this is.
Yeah. He's
Well,
just one of the
exactly.
guys in the neighborhood just minding his
But
business.
how on earth does somebody like that get bail?
He obviously has a guy inside. There's an inside man
guys,
saying, look, in 2 days we're coming through,
man.
pack up, put all your money in that account, disappear because we're coming for you or something. Everybody has to have an inside guy. Surely.
I don't know. He's known as Harry, apparently, and that's already got me nervous.
Yeah, that's already-
He's accused of running a child sex ring in Johannesburg between 2019 and 21, so now, recently. According to the indictment, he would search for teenage boys on Facebook and other social media sites. He would then allegedly solicit pornographic videos and images and sell them to clients. This is a bad person. He's pleaded not guilty to how many? 740 charges.
Oaks, come on.
No, man, this is actually...
How can this guy be out on bail?
What's his name, Gareth?
Gerard Ackerman. Anyway, we'll see what happens, but some of the
scary.
charges relate to crimes that were allegedly committed at someone else's home. Others committed at a place rented by him. It fronted as a massage parlor. Always be nervous of the massage parlors.
Those happy endings.
Yeah,
Tisk, tisk, tisk.
so not good. But there's a story that we needed to know this morning.
Yeah, I actually saw he was trending over the weekend, but I didn't look deeper into it. Talk about notifications. The one I do find useful is the BBC app notifications. Because if there's a breaking news story, and they often have interesting things.
Because what are we going to do if you don't know about Chernobyl exploding?
Well, exactly.
We learned that back in 89.
89, that's right.
Here, speaking of Russia again, because Russia seems to dominate the news so much now, a teenage Russian
Right.
is facing years in jail over a social media post criticizing the war. So this poor girl is going to go to jail for years just because she criticized Russia and the war in the Ukraine. So, in this country, you don't even get arrested and put away behind bars for 740 charges of child sex
We invite
trafficking.
the foreign minister here.
But in Russia, you just
Russia.
criticize the war,
And it's
straight to
over
jail.
for you.
Yeah. But did you see the foreign minister of Russia was here?
Yes,
Lavrov,
Sergei Lavrov.
Sergei Lavrov.
He had a great meeting with Naledi Pandor. They were all smiles.
New trade agreements.
But did you see Janet Yellen was here as well with her false teeth?
Janet Yellen. What have you got against Janet Yellen?
Nothing. She's just extremely old. I'm surprised they got her out of Washington and managed to keep her on life support long enough to get here.
Jeez,
and
wow.
get back. All right, that's all we got time for the moment. When we come back, we got a special reveal with a special guest, and you are our special guests here this morning. Brand new place, brand new house, brand new vibe, brand new everything. Stick around, cliffcentral.com. More of this coming at you.
It's the decade that just won't go away, mainly because we won't let it. It's That 80s Show, the show that taste forgot. Every Friday, Paolo and Dory remember the 80s. Movies, music, fashion, wham, beachies, and the half. If it was acceptable in the 80s, it will get you cancelled today. That 80s Show, new episode every Friday, live or as a podcast on cliffcentral.com.
This week on the Auto Trader podcast.
Ever seen this video on TikTok? I think we'll ask the editors to kind of put it up there. But whenever the petrol price goes up, this video becomes popular again, which has this person going to their car and pouring water in this like makeshift engine in the boot. And they're like, I don't know why everyone's complaining about petrol when you can just use water or this water system.
Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
And we've got a special guest joining us in just a short while. Now, you probably are already familiar with Markets Mondays, which we do with markets.com. And you have met Solomon, who's been on the show a couple of times. He's the CEO there at Finalto, who run markets.com here in South Africa. And I'm very pleased he's in the studio with us this morning. So you are our special launch guests, and we are doing this morning this way because of markets.com. It's nice to have you here, Solomon. How are you?
Morning, Gareth. Good to be here. I'm
Yeah,
good.
it's good to see you. And you were also at the Sia Kolisi documentary last night.
Oh, yeah, that was fantastic. What a launch.
Good
great
stuff, huh?
function, good event. Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward. Public should go out and see it. Good story. Real
Excellent story, and everybody is talking about it. So just to let you know, in case you don't already know, whether you're a new trader who's looking to start for your first time ever trading, a safe place where you want to begin and not make too many mistakes and not make too many terrible decisions about things that you don't entirely understand. Markets.com is good for that, but it's also good for experienced traders who are looking for low spreads, multi-assets, and high tech. You will find that Markets.com suits you perfectly. A special offer to everyone who is listening to and watching us this morning. You can follow the link on cliffcentral.com. You can register right there with Markets.com, and you will get a 30% bonus on your deposit. 30% for nothing. That's a good way to start. So this week we have a special guest, and you guys have just appointed an official spokesperson. And this is the big reveal. It's regarded as one of the greatest celebrities and sports people in South Africa. He's also someone who's very much into trading. So without wasting too much time, I'm going to welcome him down here in all of his glory. Ladies and gentlemen, none other than a solid South African hero and superstar, Bryan Habana. So nice to see you, Bryan.
Good to see you guys.
Good to see you.
Good to be up in Joburg. Yeah, it's interesting coming back here every time because it's.
I've spoken to you before. I've met you once or twice before. We've never actually talked about sport either. But I always thought in the context of this show that the next time I'd see you, it would be with the World Cup coming up or something like that. And here you are with Markets.com. How did this relationship start? Solomon, jump in if you want to.
So
how did you guys find each other?
So I actually only met Solomon for the first time today because he didn't want to come down to Cape Town a couple of weeks ago when we actually had the UK crew of Markets.com come down. I think the engagement sort of started.
I figure we can't have two celebrities in the same room.
that which is true. I think Markets.com, just in terms of their global expansion plans, their need to sort of try get insights and raise awareness of what is an incredible platform, not only in the UK but more particularly from a South African perspective.
Sure.
And when they did approach me, I was a little bit taken aback because as much as I see myself as a very amateur trader, trying to now affiliate yourself with a brand that is as powerful.
But you've been doing this for a while.
In a very different environment. So,
right.
being on a 7 series with HSBC or Rugby World Cup with Mastercard is very much what I know. I think being a part of a platform that is really delivering, at the touch of a finger click is incredible, but making an incredible difference. So something new, something very amateur in my opinion, but where they are extremely experienced, which is exciting as one at the same time.
Well, I found it really interesting to hear from your experts, and obviously, as we go, it's almost like we do this journey with Bryan. And I think for a lot of people, it can be very intimidating to do this stuff. Obviously, you guys are trying to make it easier. You're trying to make it accessible to people. But there's also room for all those experts, those real power players who know exactly what they're doing. And for those people, this is the platform where they can do all of it at once, right? You see those people with all the screens? I'm sure you've seen it too. And whether it's the movies or it's real.
No, it's real.
like 10
No, it's
different
real.
screens and they're watching all these things at once. I mean, to me, that would be very intimidating. But obviously, there are people who do that, and they use markets.com as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Gareth, when I traded back in the day, traded multi-currency.
This is
I had-
before you mortgaged your house.
Before I mortgaged
Right.
my house,
That
almost
your wife
lost.
didn't know about.
Yeah, my wife didn't know.
You heard about this.
Yeah, I heard about it.
I think everybody's heard about this, except poor Solomon's wife at the time. She was the only one who's like, what? My house?
She still thinks we've got an house. But before I did that, I mean, I've had multi screens, 5 screens. I can tell you right now, 3 of those screens were sport channels,
Oh.
probably non-related trading activities, and just one was a Bloomberg screen, and half of it was Reuters. So don't be fooled by the multi screens. I think also you're right, for the expert trader, for the guy that's out there that knows what he's doing. You know, when we looked at our strategy, our plan for 2023, and we looked at the attributes of our platform, we looked at what we wanted to achieve, and we stacked it up against Bryan and all that he stood for in his public profile. It was a no-brainer for us. It was a good partnership, so it works.
Well, I mean, Bryan, you've obviously got, because you are one of those people in South Africa who's done, you know, an incredible job on the field. You've made the country proud. You've also since then gone on to do lots of exciting things. And you must have people throwing ideas and offers at you all the time. How do you choose what you do and don't want to get involved in? Because a lot of it is saying no, huh?
A lot of it is saying no, and again, I've been very fortunate that you create a brand while you're playing rugby that, you know, has been able to create a bit of longevity. For,
Sure.
you know, organization.
Because
like
a lot of
Marcus.
people will say, oh, well, as soon as the rugby stops, everything
Yeah.
stops.
And it normally does, I think.
For a lot of guys,
for
it
a lot
does.
for a lot of athletes, and I mean,
Sure.
the transition period in an athlete's career is probably the most spoken about narrative globally. I mean, I think there's a stat in the US that 70% of retired NFL players within 5 years of retiring are either divorced, in jail, have committed suicides, or bankrupt, which is scary. And you know,
Not
that
good.
stat, I think, goes. So I've been very fortunate that you've created a brand where, you know, you potentially have been eloquent, you know, in your post-match interviews, but, you know, created an image that brands want to associate with. And again, the privilege of doing that, you know, 5 years on from retiring, and, you know, having an approach, you know, with an incredible organization like Marcus.com, but also then, you know, being intellectually able to match up to the expectations and starting a couple of businesses.
If you'd been hit in the head too many times, you're sitting here going, Marcus.com, I don't think you'd be very interested.
I'm not quite
And
sure
also,
solid.
you would feel like, what the hell am I doing?
I would feel very overwhelmed. But what I think is really cool about, you know, the platform for me, and again, you know, sort of exploring crypto and, you know, the whole environments, and having a financial advisor who sort of backs
Sure.
me, and offshore funds and stuff like that. But being able to educate yourself and learn about global environments, which I think is really key, because, you know, if you're just going to keep yourself in a cocoon in South Africa and not look outside of our borders, you're going to find yourself very stuck in a couple of years. And for me, as an amateur, being able to have a very simple, easy-to-use platform that potentially does have the opportunity, should I become more experienced. I think there's like 3,000 tools. I did a baseline sort of quick case study with one of the incredible people behind the scenes in Eureka last weekend. She was going through, you know, oh, Bryan, do you sure you want to leverage that or leverage this? I'm like, no, I just don't want to lose my money. So can I put a stop loss at that certain point, making sure that
Right.
I don't actually do certain things.
But first of all, I just want to say it's so great to have you here for our first show from our new premises, both of you. But it's also really nice to be able to talk about this stuff, because frankly, this is what a lot of my friends and I are often talking about. You know, Bri conversations have always included sport.
Yeah.
But these days it also includes, you know, what sort of things are you buying and selling?
Yeah.
What are you doing with whatever money you have to invest? What kinds of things, and you share this information with people you care about, because this is how we make our lives better. And really, if you're finding ways to turn 1 rand into 2 rand, that's a hell of a lot more interesting to me than us talking about the weather or what your star sign is or your favorite color.
No, 100%. But I think in the very volatile world we live in, you know, we've seen a lot of crypto collapses in FTX and things that have happened recently. A lot of people have lost a lot of money because they potentially wanted that quick buck, which I think, unfortunately, for the longevity of it, you can never make a quick buck. And what is really cool about platforms, you know, that allow you to, as a simple, easy-to-use option, get an understanding. I think where Marcus.com is great and differentiates, it gives you that education. You know, it has the support that you need should you need to explore things a bit more in depth. I mean, 3,000 tools. I'll be happy if at a point in the next 5 years, Solomon, I get to about 2 or 3 of those
sure.
tools.
I mean, listen, I think you and I are some way off of
The derivatives,
hedging and derivatives.
No,
and that
hedging
kind
and
of thing, right?
derivatives, and
I still don't know how to short something. I mean, you got to show us how to do that one day.
That's a beautiful thing when you short it.
Yeah, because you can see someone's failing and you kind of bet against them.
I mean, if you go along something, Brian, you'll see when you start to mess around on the platform, you go with information that's publicly available.
Yeah.
To short something, there's no information. You've got to have an intrinsic conviction of something that's not yet available,
Right.
and you then enter the short and you wait it out. So it's very difficult, and I would say if you're trying out for the first time, don't just load a short on, because information.
Firstly, I understand what a short is. So I think a lot of people, I'm not going to put on a short to trading. A short is something very, very different, and I think that's the brilliant. To be able to educate yourself on a simple-to-use platform, I think is really key. And again, for the amateurs like us, it's not only nice to look at, but very easy explained, which I think is great.
So listen, if we talk about your incredible rugby career, and here someone said, listen, you get rugby players and then you get World Cup winning rugby players, different lanes. And I think that's true for you. And we can't go every milestone along the way in your career so far, but you are still considered one of the fastest wingers in history, if not the fastest. And many people don't know this, but you also hold the joint record for the most tries in a single event. Now, if we look back on your career, and I know you probably have less desire to be nostalgic than the rest of us, but it is a World Cup year coming up, and you may be there. I think you probably are going to be there,
definitely
commentating, telling us what's going on,
Yeah.
doing an analysis of what's happening. How do you think South African rugby is looking at the moment?
Leading into 2023, I think it's probably the most competitive we've seen the global game, which is brilliant. We saw France go unbeaten, beating the top 10 teams in last year's calendar year, which is, I think, last done in the 1960s.
Yeah.
Ireland beating New Zealand in New Zealand for a series victory, first time ever. What I was really pleased about, seeing the Springboks at the end of last year, playing against Ireland, playing against France, was the brand of rugby they were playing, running the ball out of their 22, some really good decision-making. I think there was lots spoken about refereeing decisions. Best that be left alone. But I think what I was really encouraged about is seeing their willingness to play. And in a World Cup year where we probably have to have our most difficult path to actually winning a World Cup, where we face Ireland in the pool stages, France and New Zealand in the quarterfinals. So, two of the 4 top teams in the world at the moment won't progress to the semi-final, which is scary. And then you got to face New Zealand or France again in the final to win it in France. I think it's going to be tough, but I think seeing where the team's going, I think the overseas experience that's coming in, some incredible young blood that has really been given the opportunity to excel at the highest level. Someone like Damien Willemse comes to mind.
Right.
Made his debut at 20 years old and has gone on to become a key figure within that side. You spoke about the Sia Kolisi documentary. I think as inspirational figures go, I don't think you're going to find anyone better, not only in South Africa, but globally at the moment. So it is going to be tough. I think Jacques Ninaba has definitely got his strategy. A greater squad. I think he's blood like 60 players over the last 2 years, which gives him that pool. But going to France and doing it will be extremely special. Backing up 2019, which for me was probably, and again, I say this with all due respect to my team of 2007 and the team of 95. I think 2019 was probably the most transformative we've seen that Springbok side go on and do something spectacular. And if they can then go on and win it back to back, create history in their own way, that they will write their names in the history books deservedly.
I'm trying also to draw parallels here. And Solomon, I think it's important when you're a trader to be calm and composed and not lose your shit when things don't go your way, because that can happen, right?
Sure.
And you were always like that on the rugby field. You've been like that in your own life. I mean, a lot of people spin out of control because either their careers are going really well and they don't know how to deal with that, or because it's going really badly and they don't know how to deal with that. Yeah. But being a trader, it's kind of important to have a consistency and to be paying attention the whole time and not react to everything. Isn't that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Just speaking from trading, I mean, you got to be poised. You got to be calm,
and you
collected.
won the World Cup of trading.
I don't know. I don't know so much about that. But absolutely, you got to be calm. You got to be. I mean, take a professional approach to it. Even if you're doing it, like I said this in the past. But if you're doing it as a hack, really get involved. Read the information. Be calculating. Put on your stop losses. And I think if I look at once again when we stacked up our brand ambassador for the year 2023, and we looked at the way you approach the sport, it was pretty much in the same kind of ethos, and you had a professionalism on the field. You were well poised. You always knew where the ball was, seemed to be, even though you were on the wing. But it was just it's just kind of similarities that just matched.
Well, there's a very nice compliment here from Snae, who says, one of the best moments of my life was when I watched Bryan play in England in 2015. What an amazing guy. And you know, you also do, and it's not just me who thinks this. You have this reputation of being this all-round good guy, which is hard to cultivate these days with social media and with, you know, everybody being asked their opinions on everything that has nothing to do with what they actually do. And people are sometimes tempted to say, oh, well, I stand for this or I stand for that, and then they get into trouble down the line because now they've said they stand for two things that are actually diametrically opposed. It's really hard to cultivate the kind of support and love that you have and to keep it going for a long time. Do you think very carefully about, obviously you do, but do you consider all the options that are put in front of you, not just from a sponsorship and alignment point of view, but even in terms of, you know, kind of how much you share with people who you don't really know whether they're in it for you or whether they're in it for themselves.
Yeah.
You have to think about these things.
You do. I'm going to be brutally honest, Gareth. I don't get it right a lot of the time. I'm very much extroverted, so I probably shoot my mouth off in private conversations more than I should and just involve everyone. But I think being calculated in how you respond has become really critical in this world of social media where, you know, I think we refer back to when we won in 2007, we were wondering how many Facebook friend requests we were getting. You know, there was no Twitter, no Instagram, no TikTok, no Snapchat, none of that. So I think we were fairly protected in that case, but also then building a brand on various verticals, which I think is incredibly important. So, you know, how you engage with the media, how you hold yourself when you go to an event and someone gives you a business card, you throw it, you know, in the trash can because, you know, that might potentially become useful in 5 or 10 years after you retire. So I think it's nurturing relationships, which has been incredibly important. You know, I'm still an Adidas ambassador. I've still got a Land Rover, you know, driving a Defender 5 years on from retiring. And, you know, cultivating those, you know, is really important. And building long-term sustainable relationships for me, even during my career, was very important. I was never in it for the quick buck. And I think when that sort of mindset comes in, people view you differently and they value more than just the brand. So it's not just about knowing, you know, the CEO of the organization. It's about knowing those at the back end that produce goods that help people on, you know, on platforms like Eureka did for me last week, and engaging in a way where people holistically feel like you're adding more than just a face to the brand. You're bringing in value.
And you're not just on the take, you're actually bringing the value yourself.
And you're adding to the whole organization. You're not just coming in, you know, to having a quick buck to get out. And I think that's been incredibly key for me throughout not only my rugby career, but the post environment as well. And, you know, hopefully the relationship with Marcus.com can go on for longer than 2023.
Well, Solomon, are we going to, you're not going to let us watch every trade he makes, because that wouldn't be fair. But I mean, there are people you can copy and follow on markets as well. I mean, if we want to see what some of the big names are doing, we can do that, right?
Yeah, we don't have what we call a copy trading product at the moment, and that's quite intentional. But yes, we do have, what we do is the law of averages. So we'll tell you where most people on the platform have a direction they're moving towards in a particular instrument. And we might just put Bryan in his own category and give the public a sense of where Bryan's trades are.
No pressure.
I haven't lost. I've been on for 2 weeks. I haven't lost just yet.
Good.
I've had some growth. I think there's, again, how you vary where in your trade has been a very educational standpoint for me. So not just doing one thing. I mean, crypto can be very volatile if you want to go to it. And we know what the last year or two has been like. But again, commodities, if you're looking at future trading, something like Microsoft that has been doing really well, but then Disney, bought the Marvel, consortium, which again, where Marvel's going in the next 4 to 5 years, will that be progressive? Day one was exciting, and then day two saw me retract a little bit in terms of, where my growth was. But I think it is maybe something we need to chat about exactly how much of that public knowledge we share, Solomon.
Yeah. Maybe,
I don't want to be the reason people lose money.
So, all right. I mean, a lot of people want to know about rugby, so we can get into that. But I do think it's also kind of curious to me. You played rugby with a lot of these guys on the field every day, every week. You were practicing together. You saw each other all the time, traveling together. Are you still mates with a lot of the guys from the teams that you were in when we won the World Cup back in 2007?
So we do have a Rugby World Cup 07 group.
A WhatsApp group?
A WhatsApp group.
And it's just you guys and no one else in there?
Just us, no one else on there. It's not on mute, like Mr. Anastasiou said. We engage pretty much. I think once you're sort of done with that chapter, guys move on. But I think who has been incredibly instrumental in keeping the cohesion of that group has been John Smith.
Really?
You know, whenever he's in town, he'll get the guys, you know, together. I saw he was with Johan Miller last week. He was down in Cape Town a couple of weeks ago. He had a golf day up in Pretoria where a lot of the guys come. So we definitely do keep in contact. Matt Gittau out of Australia.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it was a drunk call at about midnight, but he was standing next to South Africa, whose birthday it was, and sent me a message. Juan Lobe from Argentina, who I played with. So I think there is, you know, certain guys that you do. And I'm again very fortunate that I got to experience an overseas culture. So playing in Toulon and being in France for 5 years was an incredibly valuable experience and, you know, learning curve for me as not only a rugby player but as an individual. So, you know, the contacts and connections that you have there, some closer than others. John de Villiers and Skalkberger are inseparable. I saw they were with Farid Dupré on this weekend as well. So there are really great connections. I think for me, what was also key is that as much as I understood rugby was a very big part of my life, I tried to not make it my life, which I think was important because there is just so much more to life than rugby. And I think, you know, going into the next phase of my life, and, you know, I've got a stand-up call with my co-founders of Pay Me Now in about the next 40 minutes and making sure that my prep for the week, but you then cultivate and nurture different relationships. And the important ones from a rugby perspective are definitely maintained. And I think kudos to someone like John Smith. You know, I sort of popped by and I saw the Kolisi crew here last night, and there are certain relations that you want to try continue building. But also as you move chapters, you know, making sure that you understand where you're going and who you're involving, you know, within your circle, because, you know, your circle then will probably mean, you know, where your success and failures lie.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point. And obviously you want to keep up some of these connections, but you also, you want to meet new people and do new things and talk about 100%. Evolving into different directions. I mean, also that's one of the things I suppose that makes the finance world such an interesting place to play. Because you meet fascinating people who come from all kinds of backgrounds and who are all in it to learn as much as they can, to figure out what's going on, hopefully make some money along the way. That's kind of an important goal to have.
That's the end game, right?
Right?
That's
yeah.
the end game, yeah.
So, all right, this is a new partnership. That's what we're announcing here this morning. It's a really big deal, and I think it's really cool that you guys at markets.com, Solomon, have managed to get Bryan on board. And also, I think it's fascinating for you, because you're going to get to have these guys as your resource to learn along the way, which is something we've been doing with Markets Mondays from the get-go.
Absolutely fascinating. I think for me, you know, you've got, and my wife calls me a bit of a squirrel. I've got chestnuts in, you know, various different pockets, but I think it's always...
Does she know where all of them are?
I've had to write everything down. She gave me a Bible to write everything, and I said, well, that might get lost, so let me do it on a password-protected note on, you know, one of the apps. But I think it's incredibly key, and, you know, for me, it is really about upskilling myself first and foremost, because you, unfortunately, particularly as a professional sportsman, if you don't understand financial markets, if you don't understand, you know, how to trade, if you don't understand what investments you're making, and you're not constantly, almost on a daily basis, keeping up to date with that, I've lost a lot of money because I put my trust in somebody else looking after my money. So if there are certain environments where I can take a small portion of my portfolio, and I know that if I educate myself, work hard, keep tabs at it, and, you know, have growth, you know, that potentially helps should something else go wrong. And I say to people, for crypto, for instance, my philosophy is, it is a part of my portfolio that I know I can lose, but I must make sure that it's not a big enough part of my portfolio to make my whole portfolio crash, because the volatility of that is, for me, just too vast and too big. And so it is about, for me, learning, opening another opportunity, which is extremely exciting. It really is. And again, knowing that that little, you know, cove of chestnuts, you know, is protected because I'm educating myself, and I can hopefully, you know, start teaching my little boys who are now 8 and 4 eventually, you know, how important something like trading is, how important it is to look after your money, how are you budgeting, how are you investing in certain environments where you understand what's going on, because a lot of this time, as normal human beings, we never understand. So that, for me, is, again, a key cornerstone. Or we learn
too late. I mean, like, I wish I'd learned this stuff at a much younger age, because, you know, you could take advantage of understanding the markets and turn, you know, a little bit of money into a lot more money
100%.
Fairly quickly if you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, it's going to cost you. And I think that's also what's nice about this platform. You decide. And by the way, always have to say this because I can see Mana Mane's looking at me like, you got to tell them this is not financial advice. I know. Okay, we're not giving you financial advice. We're giving you the opportunity to do this stuff. But nobody here is telling you what to do with it.
I'm no Vusi Tembekwaya.
No, exactly. But even Vusi Tembekwaya will say to you, I'm not giving you financial advice, right?
Yeah.
All right, so Solomon, very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a good year for us. I think we're excited about the brand. We're excited about what we've got planned for the brand. It's great to have Bryan on board. He'll be attending events. He'll be the face of markets. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of opportunities for our clients to engage with him. The market will offer up a lot of opportunity for robust trading. We build up to the budget speech coming in Feb.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. We're going to see, clearly we've got the Eskom effect, Eskom bonds. We're going to see real rates move. We've got the US as they build up to the 2024 elections already.
Is there a recession coming?
Yeah, absolutely. I would even argue that in some markets, recession's here.
Yeah.
In recessionary times, markets start to open up. So from a trading perspective, recession's does not have a negative impact. In open markets, you can start to trade and your losses are a lot less. In tighter markets, spreads are narrower. You don't really have opportunity to make as much money, but in recessionary times you do. So there's the good and bad, I suppose. But overall speaking, from an economic perspective, recession is not a good thing, clearly.
Sure, of course. Means the average consumer has less to spend, and they feel the pinch a whole lot more.
Absolutely. But for day traders that are at home, that have worked through this, we've been through the lockdown. We've gone through the process of analysis. So youngsters have become smarter, sharper. They're clued up. And for now, they primed themselves for putting on something to, like you say, make extra or additional cash or do something responsible.
I love it. And I think that markets.com are doing a great job here. It's also worth you checking them out if you haven't done it already this morning. We're giving you a 30% bonus on your deposit if you start today. Just follow the link on cliffcentral.com. Bryan, it's so good to see you. Solomon, thank you very much for coming to our first broadcast from our new premises, which I hope are going to be the home of many more great guests just like you two, and like Aki and Lebang, who were on for the first hour or so this morning. I'm excited as can be, and this is just the beginning. So thank you, gents. Very lovely to have you here.
Thanks, Gareth. Great to be here.
That's it for us from this morning. We will see you tomorrow, 6 a.m., bright and early.